What a day. In the meantime, last night was a very, very cool evening for Mariner fans as they acquire Eugenio Suárez, old friend. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Shannon Drayer was there. She's on the team plane. She gets a chance to see what goes down. Shannon, how great, how happy was everybody last night?
You know, it was one of the neatest moments I have seen on the plane in my years in traveling with them. It was one of those, it could have been a tough flight. They lost a ball game. They had the night game before another game at home the next day, and they're deep in the 17th straight. When we got to the airport, we went through security, we got on the plane, and we were sitting for a little while. And it turns out that they were holding the plane for Gino and his family. And they didn't tell the players that's what they were doing. So after about a half an hour, all of a sudden it got a little bit loud at the front of the plane. Gino got on the plane, and you could hear the cheering. And then this was just the neatest thing, and it's so Eugenio Suárez. He proceeded to walk the entire length of the plane and hugged every person on it. Wow. It was, when he got to Perry Hill, you could hear up front Perry just yell an emotional, "Stop it!" Which is what he yells when he sees the good play on the field. It was just the neatest moment to see him get on the plane. Spoke very briefly with him, and he just said, "I am so happy."
It's got to be kind of a crazy feeling too, right, Shannon? This is just hours after a tough loss and a series loss, and a road trip that wasn't in any way disastrous, but you don't find a way to quite win that road trip. So and they're in the midst of 13 games in 13 days. So just 17. To kind of have, could the timing of that kind of jolt of joy and vibes been any better?
No, it couldn't have been. And, when we talked to Cal Raleigh in the clubhouse, and it was an odd situation because they're in the minor league park, it wasn't a situation where they could go back into the clubhouse and turn on the TV and watch the scroll and see what was going down in trades. No, they were absolutely, cut off from everything in that dugout in Sacramento. So Cal said they didn't find out until they got back to the clubhouse after the game had ended and people started checking their social media accounts. That's how they found out. And Cal, you could tell, he had just that little smile when he was talking to us. And this is, this pumps them up. They lost the game, but this gave them, I think, what makes them believe in that clubhouse, every man, we've got what we need to make this run right now. And you heard just kind of a different kind of confidence when Cal in particular was talking about it. He said, "Hey, I felt good about the moves they already made. I feel good about the guys we have in here, but this is Gino." And there was a lot of talk about both what he could do on the field and in the lineup, but also the person he was and what he can bring in regard to the vibes and kind of calming people down if there are just situations where it gets tough in a playoff run. He is somebody that can kind of dictate the feel, the vibe in a clubhouse, in the dugout, on the field. And that is something that they are looking forward to having. And I think something you need when you make that push. They've got a lot of good guys in the clubhouse, a lot of guys that can do good things like that. But it's clear they view Gino as being a different kind of leader in that regard.
Now, Shannon, this may surprise you, but I have offended some people in my life. Not always, but it's happened once or twice where I've said things that other people don't like. And occasionally, Brock, I've regretted it and needed to apologize, say I was wrong, and try to right the wrong. I see this a little bit analogous to that. They screwed up a couple of years ago. They shouldn't have traded Eugenio Suárez and then kind of used the money they messed up. And it hurt them in the clubhouse. It hurt everywhere. It hurt the fans. It hurt everybody. And now here you are a year and a half later, and in a big pennant race, they right that wrong, and they bring him back. And I wonder if that can have an even bigger effect on, like a magnifying effect by saying, hey, look, we get it. We messed that one up. We're going to right that wrong. We're going to bring back the right guy and now give you guys every opportunity to try to go win this thing in the last few months of the season.
You hope it does, and you look at the moves that they have made now. You look at, it's surprising that they haven't had to give up any of their big prospects right now. And to me, you have those prospects. You should be giving them up. There is plenty you can still do with what you have to improve this group. When you look at the lineup, I think they need another right-handed hitter. I think they get very left-handed, particularly at the bottom of the lineup, and when you flip it back over the top. I think they'll look great against righties, lefties, a little concerned about that. With Luke Raley out, you could actually add an outfielder right now, and that's not something that we've ever talked about. So, the fact that they were willing and they stayed in Gino until the end and didn't have to give up too much for him, you hope that right now they're exploring not just the reliever, but if there is something else that they can do that is going to help this right now. And it feels silly to be asking for more at this point, but no, it doesn't, because it is all right in front of them right now, and they just made the big move. And I think that signifies, they want it. But this was a pretty, when we were talking a month ago, what would be ideal? Both Naylor and Suarez. And you were thinking, good luck, like that's really going to happen. And it's happened. So to see them in this mode right now, and again, knowing that there are things you can do that you can subtract from that farm system and you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine because you've built it up to that.
What did you say earlier, Salk? You're going to take a leap, which again is a misspoke. Like, you can't leap. You can barely hop at this stage of the game, but you made a leap. And Daniel Kramer cut up with Cal, it looks like, Shannon, after the game, and Cal had talked about, hey, this is what we talked about in the spring. We being management, ownership, everything else, as he signed his extension. What kind of goodwill, beyond the emotion on the plane yesterday, and that moment is as amazing as it was, as you painted it beautifully, beyond that, what about just the goodwill to the Cal Raleighs, to the Julios, to the JPs, the goodwill that this shows between an arm, between Naylor, between now Eugenio, and maybe even more, that also cultivates with the guys?
It's huge. This is what they want to see at the deadline. They want to know that, the management are doing their part to help. They're doing what they can do on the field, and they want to know that they are getting the support from above as well. It's what you want every trade deadline if you have got a shot. And this is something that's noticed. Everybody, it's kind of like the home run derby. Everybody was talking about Cal Raleigh at that time and the Mariners. And now, in the trade season, they've made the biggest splash. And people will talk about it. It will be noticed. And that was a very serious thing with Cal. It was a big part of the meetings that were taking place down in spring training. We were down there doing our shows and doing all of our work. Cal was up there saying, I want to know about this. I want to know about this. I want to know about this. Show me what you're going to do. If I'm going to commit, if this is going to be my home for, both in the city and in that clubhouse, I want the chance to win. And so, that's exactly what that does, Brock.
And good on Cal for understanding after he did it publicly a few years ago, which was great for the fans, but maybe doesn't move the needle internally, to figure out how to do it privately and quietly and behind the scenes and lobbying more than using the media. I think it's growth. It's growth on his part. It shows his leadership. And I think one of the many reasons why everyone is so enamored.
Show me the money.
Shannon, 1 minute left, and then we got to run, and we got Mike McDonald coming up here, and we're really thankful. I know you got into bed super, super late because I was texting with you as I was waking up this early in the morning, and you were not even in bed yet. So we appreciate you jumping on a big day, a trade deadline day. If you have to add one more or even two more names today, I know you said you'd like to see them continue to go out there, who would be the first or second person on your list?
I would still be working on Minnesota and both Griffin Jacks and Willie Castro. I would want that flexibility. I would want that right-handed bat. Again, it's not easy to make out the lineups right now. I think you can add to it. The substitutions aren't perfect right now, and another leverage arm or near leverage arm in that bullpen could go a long, long way.
Well, I love it. Shannon, thank you. Really appreciate it. I don't know if Minnesota's going to deal another reliever. They already dealt one of the big ones, but I'm with you. I would keep making that call, and I'd be on the phone with Pittsburgh as well, talking about Bednar, who's probably the other real good leverage arm left. Shannon, hopefully you get a few more hours of sleep, be at the ballpark today, and the trade deadline is at 3 o'clock. We appreciate it. Thanks, Shannon.
You got it, guys.
There you go. That's a cool story, huh?
For sure.
Gino hugging every single person.
For sure.
Not a surprise, but awesome.
And it's awesome. And Naylor's a different person.